state. It's not as necessary as some people might lead you to believe. We can all learn from other people's experiences. In this book, I share our experiences, a heartfelt story that only life itself could write, as well as the secrets that drove Garden Fresh from the back of that tiny restaurant to become the premier deli supply company in the United States, so that you can begin to live the life you've imagined for yourself, ideally a lot quicker than we did. Introduction. Starting with less than nothing. Jack and I were with a guest in our conference room in Garden Fresh's administrative offices. The company had just hit the $100 million mark, and the local media had picked up on it. Our guest was amazed and could not contain himself. "You know what I like about you two? You guys started with nothing. No one ever gave either of you a thing. I really respect that." Jack was taken aback by the statement and answered the only way he knew how. "Started with nothing. That would have been easy. What's hard is starting with less than nothing." Our guest was perplexed. "Dave," Jack asked, "how much debt were you in when we got together? Do you want the real number or just what I'll admit to?" "Let's just go with what you'll admit to. $350,000. And I'm glad my wife doesn't read what I give her to sign. No sense both of us losing sleep at night." Jack proceeded to throw a $450,000 figure on the table, but I knew that too was only what he'd admit to. For a while it seemed every other day someone was showing up at our office reminding Jack of the money they had lent him, and we always seemed to be paying them back. Jack continued with our guest. When we added all up, it was easily $1 million hole. Starting with nothing would have been a blessing. Starting with less than nothing, now that's a challenge. So how did we, me with a couple business degrees from a couple well-respected universities, and Jack, who now deserves to be considered one of the premier food entrepreneurs in America, find ourselves middle-aged and starting with less than nothing to the tune of about $1 million? For me, it all started when I was in college. I spent the summer between my sophomore and junior year studying in France, where I absolutely fell in love with the culture. I was just enamored by how wonderful their food was, and even more so by how the French used the occasion of the meal to bring people together. Those people have truly mastered everyday life. The following summer, I interned at a General Motors financial office and realized that working in that world wasn't connecting with me. But what were the marketing classes I was taking at Michigan State. The strategic aspects of marketing fascinated me, and I was compelled to earn an MBA in marketing, which I did from the George Washington University. My first job in the real world after I graduated, selling financial securities, was underwhelming, to say the least. I was not only bored but realized I was not living the life I had imagined for myself. There was simply a gap between the level at which I was living my life, in terms of both professional and financial fulfillment, and the level at which I wanted to live my life. And that void was simply unacceptable to me. It was driving me crazy. So I decided to do something about it. I combined my love of food with my passion for business and started a food company. I then proceeded to do what just about every food entrepreneur does. Spent 4 months at my kitchen counter developing a line of chicken and beef marinades. Came up with the name American Connoisseur, hired a graphic designer for $15 per hour, and stood over her shoulder while she created some labels. When she finished, she printed 1 copy of each, laminated them, and I stuck them on 4 bottles, then sent them to the buyer at what was then Dayton Hudson Marshall Fields, now known as Macy's. One night the buyer called me at home. I certainly did not have an office, and said, "These are the best marinades I've ever had. I'm going to place an order," which he did for